But I gotta say, the final question I want to ask you about Anthony Cumia because I'm a huge, huge fan of the guy. I think he's hilarious.
What do you
He's
want
one of
his
my
phone number?
oh yes, and that is anyway. So, but with Anthony Cumia, there's always controversy around him. No matter what he does, he's got this reputation. There's all these legal accusations. There's the fight with black prostitutes in the middle of New York. But he still has a huge following, and he's so funny that comedians love to do his show despite the controversy. So, talk to me about what it's like to hang out and do shows with Anthony despite all the controversy around him.
Well, I mean, the bottom line is like the controversy doesn't mean anything to me. So, I mean, he's funny. He makes me laugh. I mean, not that many guys make me laugh like easily, and he makes me laugh pretty easily. So, I never, I mean, I never cared that, when after I met him, he was already fired. I never did O&A. So, I mean, I never tried. Not like they were shooting me down. I just never thought. I was always like trying to get on TV stuff. So, so the O&A years, I should have tried harder because it was a great show. Apparently, I didn't even listen to it because I didn't have a fucking car. I live in New York. We don't have a car. I didn't have a car for the most part, so I never really listened to like Howard Stern or O&A or like sometimes if I listen to the radio, I listen to sports talk because I'm a fucking loser. Anyway, so I didn't. I knew of the legend, and I knew like the O&A crowds were like notoriously brutal, and they would fucking heckle, and the Bill Burr stuff in Philadelphia, and the legend of the O&A audiences was like legendary. I know I'm being redundant, but they were legendary. So when I did Cumia, the first time I met Cumia was at Compound Studio. So they asked me to do a show. I hadn't done anything in Compound Media yet, but I got there a little early, so I was sitting on the couch there, and Cumia opened the door, and he's like, oh, and I was like, yeah, how's it going? So I didn't really know him at all, and then I did his show, and then I did a show a bunch of times, and then I got my own show on there. But he's real funny. He's like really funny. Like I say, even like my show would be on before his show on Monday and Wednesday. So he would always be like waiting. My show would end at 3:30, and then his show would start at 4. So there's like a half an hour in between shows, and he's always real funny. So a lot of times I would leave going like, wow, he's like, because sometimes you're just talking to comics and somebody will say something really funny, and then when you're like on the way home or whatever, you're like, wow, that was really funny what so and so said. Just like as a comic, you'd be like, you appreciate it, and you're kind of jealous. So I was always like, wow, that fucking Cumia always has something funny to say. And I was like, then I would be like, you got to bring your fucking A game. Like, yeah, you just finished your show, but you gotta be ready to go with this guy. Even in the green room, even when he'd be eating and he'd be saying fucking funny shit. So I was like, yeah, you got to be ready to go with this fucking Cumia. But so I never cared. Would I want him to date my daughter or anything like that? I don't know. Like he's a bit of not my daughter. Like my daughter's too young, but I'm saying like if I had a daughter who was 20 or 25 or something, and like my Vinnie Brandt is a friend of mine, and he dated Vinny's daughter. So would I be like, I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know, because he is he's a classic like old fashioned bad boy.
Yeah.
And
Big Italian kitchen, if you ask Bob Kelly.
oh yeah, with a chandelier. But he
Yeah.
likes to have a couple of drinks, and he's just an old school like Italian guy. Let's have a couple of drinks and shoot the shit and whatever. But he's funny. Like David Tell's funny. David Tell's the funniest guy I ever met, probably. But Attell is far from like a fucking good guy. But I can't really judge Attell if he's a good guy or not, like because he's hilarious. So like at some point, I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit if like I don't have to deal. I had to deal with Attell being a dick. I mean, never did anything like horrible to me, but like he was always a fucking dick. And with Cumia, I always got along with him, and also like he never really did anything where I was like, I mean, sometimes a couple times I got pissed off at him when I quit because of one thing or another. But I like if a guy's that funny, I just give him kind of the benefit of the doubt. Like if he's kind of fucking, if he likes to whatever. Like people do the same thing with Artie Lang. I never found Artie Lang that funny, but I never listened to Howard Stern. My wife loved Artie Lang. So people who love Artie Lang do the same thing with Artie Lang. They're like, oh, he's so funny. I don't care if if his personal life is a mess. Where Cumia's personal life is not a mess, but like he does get into some issues, I guess, with his personal life. But like the gun stuff and the politics, I don't really give a shit because it's like that's not my politics. But like the guy's funny, so should I be like, oh, I don't like the guy? I don't care. Like Attell's got more. Attell's got politics that I'm more aligned with, or Louis C.K. have more politics that I'm like. Even the Louis stuff, it's like it's not my business. Like Louis funny. He's always been good to me, and it's like I'm not going to judge what a guy does with his personal life. I mean, that's what fucking cancel culture is for. But like with these guys, I just give them a pass because they're funny to me, And it's like I'm only saying that because it's not like I think everybody's funny. Like I think like 5 guys are funny, so I give these 5 guys a pass, whoever the fucking 5 guys are. I'd have to make up a list, but Cumia's on the list, Attell's on the list, Louis C.K.'s on the list, and I have to think about maybe 2 other guys that I would be like I mean, they're not murdering people. They murdered somebody. I'd be like, hey, maybe that's not cool.
Joe List.
I like how you're doing this. I like how people. I was somebody else is shitting on Joe List. I like Joe List, and my wife says Joe List is always complimentary about me on like if my name comes up on a show on a podcast, like if he's on Bobby Kelly's show and Bobby Kelly tries to shit on me, Joe List is basically saying like, no, Kevin's a good comic, or he says good things about me, maybe because we're both friends with Louis. I don't know, but Joe List is speaking of upstanding citizen. Joe List, I don't think gets into any trouble. And he's a very, very good comic. So, but I think it's people like to make fun of him because his name's List. And I said he should even have name his fans the Joe Listers, And like if my name was Joe List, I'd call my fan the Joe Listers. That'd be my fan, because my fans, they used to be called the Starfuckers. I don't even know what they call themselves now. Now there's some subset of Kevin's Beautiful Boys. But and they're not boys. They're that's what they call themselves. But like the Joe Listers, I think that'd be a great name for your fans if your name was Joe List.
Yeah, well, my listeners are called the Proud Boys. But I've got a.
That's a great name. Listen, it's great. It's not. It didn't turn out great for the Proud Boys. Like maybe it got a little out of control, but like it's a great name for a group.